Okay, folks, good morning. Off to a later start than normal, which is proof that I'm not at 100%. I literally slept in through both alarms and didn't care. I was tired. I didn't even stay up or anything. So, let's see if I can sort out what I'm going to do with these vehicles as far as the extra stuff that's added to them. I think this what we're going to do with the Commander one is we're going to make that one like that. We're going to use those spare parts. And these extra track links that we have one, two, three, four, five, six. So we have enough for two on each one of them. It's kind of hard to find some definitive stuff on them. I've looked through a couple of the. I went to this place called the Sherman Tank site, and it seemed to be that it was pretty standard to have two of these at the front for each one of them. So if I leave two for this one and two for this one, I don't know that I'm going to touch the one from Battlefront. It's got some other stuff added onto here. I think I'm not Battlefront. Frontline. I think I'm going to leave it. It's got enough little details on it. It's actually pretty. It's crude in some ways and actually has plenty of details in others. I'm going to leave it the way it is. So then I still got some for this Firefly, but it already has some that are glued on here. So let's take a look at this. I'd like to epoxy all this stuff together, and then while that's drying, I'll go and I'll finish up the Hetzer. Where's the well, isn't it just on the picture here? Hold on a second here. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff on here. I got another pair of wheels. Okay. I got an extra track link for him. Okay. Of course, none of it is shown there. If I use that for the hull, were those road wheels on here? Okay, one on top of each other. So I could do something like I don't think I want to mix these because the ones that are on here are really small. One of these has got to be shorter than that. But if we cut this one down one link and put it there, we can make the front look a little bit more unique. And then we certainly have enough of this stuff to glue on the outside of the turret. Hey, what's up, Darren? To glue that, I've seen some crazy stuff where they've glued all kinds of things on the side of especially the Fireflies. Especially the Fireflies. They really wanted to make sure that those survived because it was the only Allied vehicle with a 17-pounder. The 17-pounder was more powerful than the gun the Panthers had. They basically had a chance of punching through every German vehicle. Didn't have to get a side shot on a German vehicle. Might have some problems against the King Tiger at some ranges on the front. And of course, all bets are off when you're talking about the Jagdtiger. But, you're rarely going to encounter any of those. I don't know if the British even encountered a Jagdtiger. Those were pretty much not until like 1945 and the American operation. But the 17-pounder is just a nasty, nasty gun. And nasty, I mean in a good way. VC Firefly tank images. This one even has an extra stowage bin on the front, like the stowage bin that goes on the back. It even has they'll attach whatever they could to the front to make sure they survive. Well, it's better than the Soviets, so they created these boxes of freaking dirt. And you ever see a T-34 tank? It ends up having these boxes on the side. It's like, oh, look at the primitive Russians. They didn't make fancy toolboxes for them. They just gave them this wood box they found from back of shed and attached it to the side of the tank. And you're like, yeah, that's where they keep their tools. No, fucking Russians didn't get tools. That was filled with dirt. That was extra dirt that was like, instead of sandbags, like the American tanks used a lot of sandbags, Russian tanks used a box with dirt in it. Hey, I'm sure it makes a difference. It's better to have it than not have it. It's not like the dirt's going to catch fire. Spending the weekend in Asheville, North Carolina for your birthday. Asheville's great once you get there. Driving there is a pain in the ass. You can't get there from here. Make sure you check out this place. If you've been there before, there is a place that we absolutely loved called Urban Orchard. And it's a cidery. And the food there is incredible. And we had like a flight of ciders one time. And our favorite one was a jalapeno one that started... It started like a normal cider taste and ended. It was incredible. Urban Orchard. I'm sure it's still around. Orchard. Yep, this is what it looks like. Urban Orchard Cider Company. It's excellent. I mean, there's lots of good places up there. Yeah, we had one of these like flight things. But the food there, they have a great food menu. Really, you think, it's just like a warehouse looking thing. I mean, it's a cute looking warehouse. That place was excellent. Highly recommend it. We were there like 3 or 4 years ago, or 5. I don't know. It's all a blur. But I like Asheville. There's North Carolina and then there's Asheville. Okay, so back to the 1940s. Where was I? Let's see here. Okay, VC Firefly. I want to see some examples of some of this track around turrets. And we're not putting an American star on them. Sorry, it's not an American vehicle. They don't get an American star. Okay, here's one from King and Country. All right, we got some good stuff coming up here. Now, this is blurry as shit, unfortunately. Let me visit this site. Pre-painted toy soldiers. Yeah, what would I want anything pre-painted? That's just people that buy stuff. Okay, here we go. Look at the extra little track links they have on the side of that thing. That's crazy. All these that are here. I'm not sure I like the look of that. But this one, yeah, here's some junk. Pretty much anything goes. You know, this is finally the one version of the barrel that actually looks attractive. As they disrupted camouflage the barrel. Here's a closer view of it. They painted the end of the barrel white, but then they painted the top of the end of the barrel that's white back to the green color, which I don't understand the logic. I would have painted it like, blue, right? If you're making it try to look like there's no barrel there, at least paint it like the color of the sky. It's got to be a really shitty day for the sky to be dark green. I don't know where the hell you are, but if the sky is dark green, but it's not going to be a nice day. You probably don't want to breathe that in. Okay, this looks pretty good. I'm going to take a screenshot of that, and then I'm going to go back to the one that looks This one looks really nice here. That picture there of that firefly. Okay, so I think I've got enough to work with just those photographs there. Holy smokes. Yeah, they're just all kinds of clutter and stuff they put on them. Okay, so the sky is basically the limit on this. Okay. We'll do, it's our first time Victor and Melissa came with us. Okay. May the most sober person drive. It's your first. Did you say it was your first time there? Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been there 3 times, 4 times. 3 times. Every time I go there, it goes better. Didn't like it the first time I went there. You got to bring somebody with you, man. There's some alternative folks there. There's some severely alternative folks. Like I said, there's North Carolina, and then there's Asheville. And the biggest problem with Asheville is like you just can't get there. Road net is just a nightmare to get there. Uber only. I think that Asheville's one of those places that has one of those little bikes that you can like ride on, and everybody sits laterally, and you can like drink on the bike. course, it's not Savannah, Georgia, where you can get a drink to go. There's only one Savannah, Georgia. Okay. So, let's I think I know what I'm going to do. So, let's get the old This is too messy. That's too messy. I'm going to get confused and create an issue for myself. Let's tear off a little piece of this. Let's get the epoxy sisters out here. And geez, I gotta put my glasses on to find anything. I'm like instant mole man. There should be a needle. Where is my needle? There it is. Which is the best thing you can use for mixing epoxy because it's 100% reusable. When you get that junk on there, just come in and scrape it off, and it should be easier to scrape off than this. I'm like, holy crap, what's going on here? There we go. No point in making too much. Most of the time you end up wasting the little bit you make anyways. So let's do the obvious stuff that we're going to make happen. Let's pull this turd off because it's just going to get in the way. And we're going to use tweezers for all this that we can so we don't end up getting this stuff in a place we don't want it. Okay, so we're going to put the spare wheel up here. And I much prefer to use this than super glue. I am not a fan of super glue. It's incorrigible most of the time. Let's put it in the center. Some of it's going to squish out. There's no point in making a bigger mess than you need to. And these are all made with epoxy putty. These are all copies of the plastic ones that came in the model. Okay, and this tire, this wheel, it's not a tire. Okay. And this one with the commander is done. Even though technically it's not the commander of the platoon, that would be, I think that's still the Firefly. I think the Firefly is still the commander. I don't know. I didn't know actually why the Firefly was called the Firefly. That's because when that 17 pounder fired off, really bright muzzle flash. I mean, a brighter muzzle flash. I mean, still. But the 17 pounder has the muzzle brakes on the side, so you're going to see some light going out laterally when it fires off, as opposed to the smooth 75 that doesn't have that on the standard Sherman. Okay, we're going to leave this one without the spare wheel. And I don't think we're going to, I don't know what we're going to do with this one. I want them all different. And the standard was to put 2 of those things on here. So let's move to Mr. Firefly over here. And we're going to stack a couple of wheels. Is that what it was on this side? We're going to stack them one on top of each other. Stuff gets a little bit creative to use. And it starts getting thicker. Now one of these is uglier than the other. That's this one. Okay, we're not going to use that. Let's use the tweezers that are a little bit bigger. These right here. Oh, not that much bigger. Come on. And then this one right above it. And no, I'm not going to put little wires holding these things down. That's a detail too far. Well, sometimes you just have to say fuck it and use your fingers. Get that put on a t-shirt. Okay, and this one I believe we needed to cut this one down 1. Now this is an ugly link right here. So we're going to chop that one off. Yep. And see if this stuff is, nope, we're done. It goes from wet to, oh, all I had to stop. And I do want these off angle like that. All right. So let's mix up another little batch. these pieces are so light, and this stuff isn't even sticky yet, but when you pull it off of it, it wants to take the piece with it. That's the challenge. Scooch that little piece into position right about there. Okay. Now, I'm going to put a couple of these around the turret. I think they're the same length, more or less. However, on one side of the turret, you have this little, the door where you spit out shell casings, which is important specifically with this 17 pounder because the shell casings are huge. It's a lot of brass. There's another low flying aircraft. It's weird because this house shouldn't be on a flight path to anything. Sure, it might be a helicopter. These two are going to go around the side of the turret. Like so. And if you pre-bend them, they kind of bounce back anyways. But let's see if we can do some of that to help this go along. We got anybody on here? We just got a monologue morning. Top of the, well, topish of the morning, bottom of the morning. Yeah. God, the Plastic Soldier Company stuff's so much bigger. And they've been accused, I have seen them be accused of having vehicles that are too large for their scale by a little bit. It doesn't bother me any, I just figured I'd mention it. No. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do both sides. Meaning, I need to put one side and then hold it down. Come on, release off that thing. And let's see if we can pull this off. Because that'd be silly to not be able to do both sides. Yeah, it's already setting. Okay, so we're going to come over here. It just doesn't open big enough. Still doesn't open up big enough. Let's go to the opposite side. And do do the same thing. Get out me lungs. I guess I'll just hold this one down until we're completely done. There's some little square boxes on the back of this turret that face up, have a little bolt pattern. Almost looks like dice pips. I'm pretty happy with this green color for the Brits. That was taken just right off the Flames of War paint color thing. Paint color suggestion. Feel like I should put some on the sides too. And they're all going to have nicknames. And these people went ape shit with the stuff on here. How much of this do we have? Yeah, we could put more. You could just saturate this stuff with spare tracks. That's what they did. They wanted to hide the barrel of this thing, and if you did find it, you want to make sure this thing would survive. Because making the Firefly survive means more 75mm Sherman survive. And they can knock out the big cats. All right, once again. I'll paint this in. I want to put these decals on. Actually has pretty good detail on the tools, and then just devoid of detail in other places. Alright, I got this one, and this one for this side. Yeah, I got two for each side. That's pretty cool. That'll work. this is rubber band track. It actually looked pretty decent for rubber band track. I'd use super glue if I knew it wasn't going to some point later pop off. I don't know where this little spot is. Trouble than the others, but troublemakers need not apply. I'm going to glue this directly on here. And I know about where it's going to be. Fuck me. All right. There we go. All made with copies of the ones that came in the kit. And then we'll do the same with these. And you could turn this boring. It's not totally boring, but it's just devoid of. It's not as interesting as other Firefly picks you see. The tracks aren't all going the same way. It doesn't matter. I just glued them on there. Yeah, it does. I shouldn't have noticed that. There we go. Now I can sleep at night. And now we got a Firefly with some added protection on there. And looks significantly smaller because these things are oversized too. So while that's drying, we're going to switch gears. Move this epoxy somewhere in a safe place. I haven't even made my coffee yet. I'm going to go make some coffee. I'm going to set these Shermans off to the side. And we will go and finish up the Hetzer that's been sitting over here waiting in the wings. And we're probably going to do a similar thing to this Britannia Firefly that, I mean, weighs a freaking ton. Because it's all white metal and resin. It's like, you know, it weighs as much as all these. Yeah, probably. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm not even going to shut the video down. I'll be right back in a few minutes. Bye-bye. Okay, now make sure none of this shifted. It can be off a little bit. It doesn't matter. It's not like the super precise or something. Okay. That, that's for later today. But that stuff needs to dry. And I know for a fact we did the brown wash on this thing. And we dry brushed some of the base color on here, but we don't have any of the weathering stuff on it. Yeah, because the tracks are painted, but none of that's done. So, let's get US Field Drab. This one feels weird. Like it's a new bottle of it or something. Yeah, it's a new bottle and they changed the freaking make of the freaking plastic again. I always gotta fuck with stuff. Yeah, let's use up this one before. I must have bought another one. Okay, we got this one and we're gonna need Iraqi sand. No, that's dark sand. Is it all the way over here? What are you doing over there, dude? Always start with a running gear. And if you put on too much, it's easy to justify it being there. Start in the filthiest place. Hets are gonna hets. Also known as the easiest vehicle to kick ass in World of Tanks when you're starting out. Because this thing has as much front armor as a Panther. Or at least in Command Decision. Command Decision's got 14 front armor. I'd say this is generally a well-liked vehicle by modelers, or pit gamers, people that build them. I mean, the people that had to fight in them probably hated them because they're like a tuna can 4 people inside of a tuna can. Well, it's a fairly attractive vehicle. But this was not a fun model to put together. The plastic they used in here. This is the thing that really surprised me about working on plastic models. There's a huge variety of plastic densities and flexibilities between one model company and another. Now, this is the rebranded Italeri one. So this isn't the original Eschi one, which means the decals were usable. But the plastic in this, using the weld cement, was almost like getting eaten away. I'm using Tamiya glue. I'm not using some space age, something that was gonna, some highly toxic type thing. I'm just using kind of the standard Tamiya glue, and it was eaten up completely by that. Mr. Waddy, welcome back. We're just doing this little Hetzer while the Brits dry. When I was getting the airbrush, I started thinking, I really don't want to use the airbrush to spray and do weathering. I want to keep doing weathering the way I've been doing it. It's a lot easier for me to control. I'm never going to be worth a damn on the airbrush as I am compared by actual using the brush like this conventionally. And it's just, I'm looking at the back here and I'm like, this looks better dry brushing it this way than if I could be doing it with the airbrush out there. I mean, there's probably people that could airbrush better than this, but it wouldn't be me. And I'm just to the point where, I can appreciate people that can paint digital art, but I'm a traditional art type person. I don't really want to learn how to do that other stuff because other people that can do that, maybe they can't do traditional painting. I don't know. I'm just rambling. But the next time I airbrush something that involves German camouflage, I got something to try because I need to get my squigglies smaller. And this one person was recommending, several people recommended you need to get down the pressure down to like 12 or 14 psi. That's really fucking low. But I'm willing to try it. I figure if you tell me the instructions, I'll be able to do it. I have a fair amount of patience, and that can go a long way. Have I encountered any of your metal models developing lead rot? I wonder if that plastic is suffering a similar ailment. Well, this particular plastic isn't that old, I don't think, unless they took the... Okay, so let me go back to your original question. Have I experienced any lead rot? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. I have some pretty old combat miniatures, and as much as I love them, I almost feel like I may have to rebuy some of them before I go and paint them, because they were kind of a high lead alloy, or they were the alloy back then, back in the 80s, and they're just a little too bendy. I don't want to do all that effort and then like an arm break off and then I'm up a creek. And yeah, some of them look a little pitted. We'll have to take a look at them when I actually go and paint some figures. This plastic was weird. It just was really, really weird. It was very thin. I don't think it like just reacted poorly with the weld cement is the best way to describe it. It was the opposite of the Pegasus King Tigers that wouldn't weld at all. It basically was not reacting to the weld cement. I had to super glue those things together, and this one was the opposite. It was reacting too much to the weld cement, and it was cast like almost like in a terracotta orange color. I don't know if you can see any of it in there, but. I don't know. It's typical Eschi model over-engineered. The front of this was a nightmare. The front of this was a nightmare to get the angle right. It gave you the two side plates that the suspension goes on, that the running gear goes on, and a bottom plate. And if you look at the front, the side plates needed to go in at an angle. So you needed to maintain this angle. But this other piece, and then these pieces come in like they need to be at this angle so that this is straight. And I did the best I could, and it still isn't good enough. But fuck you, little guy. We did the best we could. They shouldn't have designed you that way, little Nazi. Again. This was a Noble Knight. Yeah, probably somebody saw it and didn't want to deal with it. Like, screw this, I'm selling this to Noble Knight. I don't care if they give me $2 for it. No. We've totally missed this. The stupid radio-controlled machine gun. Now, they did that because they probably couldn't fit the machine gun in here. They put it on the roof. This thing's extremely cramped. An extremely cramped vehicle. All right. Where is the black stuff? Well, I was mentioning yesterday and nobody was listening. Finally, my daughter's back and we'll watch the first episode of Band of Brothers again. Well, she saw it for the first time. I rewatched it again. I've seen the whole series once. Even though I own it on DVD, and it's useless to own it on DVD because there's no subtitles on the DVD. It came out too soon. And there wasn't a subtitle option. So we plan on going through that and then the Pacific, and well, we just did the Masters of the Air, which I didn't think it was that good, but what do I know? Still not sure when I'm going to get to see Godzilla minus one. It's still not available in the States. Yeah, we'll get there. I mainly want to see it for the Japanese cruisers. I don't care about anything else. See what, if they did the right rendition. See what they got wrong. And everybody's taking a while to wake up this morning. Like, I didn't even stay up late, and I didn't want to get up at 5. I didn't want to get up at 6. I told both alarms, say, F you. I'm going to return that to Mia panel line stuff. I'm not even going to try it. I went to Pussyfoot's Paradise yesterday and I asked him, I said, I got this product I got from you guys and I didn't even open it. I'm fine getting store credit for it. Can I bring it back? Yeah. Well, I'm going to do my part and not open it. I didn't realize it was enamel based, which I'm okay with, except I don't want to have to cover the entire vehicle in a gloss and an acrylic gloss coat before I can use it. That's just a pain in the ass. I'm just not going to do that. I don't care how good it is. Now, if I wanted to use acrylic, if I wanted to use enamel coat, I would, I'd go to the AK ones that have a lot of like odorless, whatever you call those things, and you can apply it. It's just I like doing this all acrylic. If it's not dark enough, just do it. Go over it again. It's not like this is an unpleasant experience. Mr. Varnish, I've had metal Napoleonic start to suffer, so I just pried off the offending models and replaced them with new metal officers. It's ones that have a high lead content, right? Like the new stuff from the mid 90s on shouldn't be an issue. The ones I think I've seen it on are ones that are made by Combat Miniatures, but I bought them from somebody else who was recasting them for them. So I don't know if it's lead rot or it's just poor molds and poor castings. I don't know which one it is over the other, but I got so many figures to paint. It's pretty easy to avoid those. I probably have 40 or 50 Brits that I want to paint. I already have the figures for, and I could just easy to avoid those. Yeah, the metal is kind of turning weird color. Yeah, I've seen it where it looks almost oily. Like that mixture of brown green type thing. Keep in mind these were probably from the 1980s. Okay. Yeah, I've got stuff that's that old though. I don't want to lose the figures, but I'd rather lose the figures than paint them and then lose the figures. Because you're talking about I'm going to throw away 4 hours of my time if I lose the figure. How I may play these rules and hate them. But I don't know. The important thing is that I like them. I don't care if I play them and these move too slow for me. All right, go make yourself a sandwich and get the fuck out of here. But if I don't like them, yeah, then we got a problem. But I definitely am not going to be playing these until the daughter goes back to school. So that's mid-August. So between now and mid-August, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna get the stuff ready for the scenario, but I'm not gonna even attempt to play it until then. Just don't even want to fool with it. Too difficult trying to juggle real work, spending time with her, and this shit can wait. All right. If I look at this side, is everything done on this side that needs to get this from this view? No. We need to add a little bit here. And we need to add this. And then everything on this side is done from this viewpoint. Okay, I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. These two were missed. Okay, the rear always has a ton of stuff on it. Yeah, and it seeped past the paint. Ooh. Yeah, I'll have to be mindful of that. I hadn't even considered that, to be honest with you. Because I certainly don't want to waste my time. The time that I spent doing that to be just pissed away, could be doing something else. Is this thing jacked up too high? Uh-huh. I figured something felt off. Like, why am I getting back pain? Yeah, because I'm hunching over more than I should be. Jacked it up probably to build stuff out of the green stuff and never turned it back down. Greeter says, why now? If a metal figure looks old, I might not use it instead of a newer one. Again, this is chiefly for officers and Napoleonic units. You got to get those guys to. You don't want those guys to look like slackers, huh? I spent so much time painting this thing, using the Humbrol paints and everything. But I want to use this thing on the tabletop. It doesn't look consistent with the other ones, so she's gonna be repainted. Oh man. You'd think had stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning instead of going to sleep at 10:30. I mean, there's all kinds of bolts and rivets and all kinds of stuff going on in there. Almost done with this thing. Almost done. And then we'll have to paint the exhaust. Oh, my stomach's apparently giving a concert. Free admission. And no opening act. All right. And the king tigers are done on this, in this respect, I think. Yeah. All the black lining's been done on the king tigers. These cheap ass, don't start with me, these cheap ass king tigers. New ones are superior to the old ones pose-wise. Cast. I have an entire unit of metal dragoons I'll likely never even assemble because they're all the same pose. Yeah, that'll work on some figures, but I would imagine on mounted figures it's difficult. You know, if you've got like, infantry marching, it'd probably be okay. You know, like if I was doing like Roman legionnaires, I want them all in the same pose. As long as the pose is decent, not like some stupid pose. But if you got skirmishing type folks and they're all in the same pose, we're seeing worse is you got somebody who's like in an orderly pose and they're all different. And then you got skirmishing guys who are all in the same pose. I'm like, once you paint them, yeah, they're usable. But make those determination before you go and throw a bunch of effort into it and then realize, well, I painted them, so I might as well, and they look good. Even though they're not my pose choice, we're just going to roll with them. But if I haven't painted them yet, yeah, I'm real picky. I'm like, I'm not wasting my time on that. I could be painting something that looks good instead of painting that sorry looking Joker. Okay. We're going to need some wood here, and we're going to need to make the exhaust color. So the exhaust color consists of, using this one, Mr. Black. And where's beige brown? Ubiquitous beige brown. Is this it? That's it. And white. There's Essex figures. Essex figures. If you unfortunate enough to buy some of those Essex army packs, I don't have a problem with Essex, but I don't want them to choose which figures go in that I'm going to paint. That's I'm the customer. I get to pick what fucking pick figures. I don't mind paying extra for them. I want to pick who it is, and they'll throw stuff in you. Like, I know there was this late Roman army pack, and for Auxilia, they gave you these Auxilia troopers they're like in mail. They got helmets on. They look pretty cool looking figure, but I think they're holding javelins with one hand, or they're holding something with one hand, and they've got this one hand way the fuck back here, trying to throw like this javelin thing. Hardly even fits on a stand. It's an awkward looking. You look at it and like, that's odd that they would have caught somebody in that snapshot of a view doing that exactly at that moment in time. But all right, it's all right to have a variety of guys. Oh no, everybody's in that same pose. So it's like, it's like what Essex used to do. What he used to do with like mounted horsemen, with like knights and stuff like that. They'd have this guy who wouldn't. You don't have to be charging with a lance, but he's holding the lance up, and he's got it. He's got it way away from his body, which is an unnatural position, right? If you're going to hold something and you're going to hold it for a long period of time, it needs to be up against your body so that it's not bouncing all over the place. You're not beating the shit out of yourself with it. Now, it's held all the way away from you, like it's covered in dog shit. You don't want to smell it, right? And he's looking the other way, like, I don't want to have anything to do with this lance. It is, I'm offended by it. And it's okay to have a couple guys like that in your unit, but that's like the only pose that they make. And it's like, why did they choose to make that awkward pose? And it's not one specific figure that's that way. It's a common pose that they have throughout their line. And it's really awkward when you have this one guy in this, like I said, if you have this unit and you look at it, it's like a snapshot. It's a snapshot in time. Like, if there were cameras back in Roman times, you'd catch like a glimpse of everybody. And it's like, why would everybody be doing this at one time? I mean, it's just so damn awkward. So I try to avoid that, or mix them in with other stuff, but it is annoying when you have one pose that's just strange like that. And Essex isn't the only ones that do weird poses like that. Plastic figure wise, Eschi used to have some troopers that really long necks and like almost like they were like flats. They were almost like, well, we can't show them in three dimensionality, so we got to do them like this, and it was just really awkward looking, just not natural at all, as opposed to the Airfix figures that are all in natural positions. So I don't know, some guy decided to get a little too artsy for his own good and made these really awkward looking poses in your army. Hey, but you're the designer. Just because you don't like the pose doesn't mean you got to paint them. Oh, I've got to paint them. They gave them to me. Okay. I'm not afraid of not using figures. Nobody gets to tell me what figures I'm painting. But there's several manufacturers that are that way, and they may appeal to some people, and I'm sure I'm not alone when I say they don't appeal to me. FAA, I hate FAA faces. I hate them. Absolutely hate them. Some are even worse than others. You know, is it better than I would sculpt? Absolutely. I'm not a sculptor. But after I sculpted a couple of them, I'd be like, my faces are kind of fucked up looking. What do you think? I say, yeah, they're kind of... I was going to say something to you, but, I didn't want to offend you. Actually, FAA figures are so far, are old enough that people didn't get offended by then. You just told people, hey, your figures look like shit, or they look great, or whatever. I've painted some of them, but I probably won't again. Not with those faces. And I'm not smart enough to replace heads yet. But give me time. It's still better than I would do. I'm not a sculptor, though. The guy I was painting this stuff with, he was a huge fan of FAA and didn't like combat. So he had bad taste. Well, he did have me as a friend. So there you go. There's proof he had bad taste. My nomination for Mr. Jeffrey, good morning. My nomination for worst pose is Airfix HO, Russian infantryman with his Pepe Shah in the air. What about the German? What about the German guys that have the made up fucking weapons? There's in the German infantry set. I don't know which the guy in the air is, but I'm gonna look him up because I didn't have. Remember, I told you we didn't have Airfix figures here in Florida. They were rebranded as NPCs, and I don't think they ever rebranded the Russian infantry. Or would have had them. I would have had them. Never had them. But in the German infantry set, the one that has the guy on the cover is that Han Solo got his idea from his pose and how to get dressed. He's dressed up. Han Solo's dressed up as him. Nobody's supposed to notice, but I noticed. In there, there's only one. No, there's two. Well, the only one that's in an action position with a submachine gun is this one guy. It's just got his submachine gun here at the hip. And it's a made-up fucking weapon. It's, it might as well have been a weapon that Cobra used in G.I. Joe. It was just a made-up fucking weapon completely. It's nothing. It's bad enough that the German Africa Corps, which is a beautiful set by Airfix, they all carry MP41s, which are basically MP40s with the stock on them, which they made very few of. But they didn't give them standard MP40s. They gave them MP41s for whatever reason. That's annoying. That's badly annoying enough, but the German infantry guy has just a made up fucking machine gun, just completely made up. I don't even know what the hell it's supposed to be. Good morning, your nomination. Yeah, Atlantic figures are horrible. Absolutely horrible. Doing push-ups. My nomination is U.S. Atlantic. You can do as many nominations as you can, man. Okay. At the risk of this drawing on my paintbrush, I don't care because I came here to entertain you and to be entertained. It's a symbiotic relationship. I'm going to go to one of my favorite sites, Plastic Soldier Review. Could spend a freaking lifetime on this. Between this and Scalemates, like free entertainment. Okay, so we're going to go to manufacturers. We're going to go to Airfix. We're going to go to World War II Russian infantry. The machine gun in the air. Oh, you talking about this jackass that looked like he just got shot? He got shot because he's a damn commie. The worst thing about this set is this is terrible. Look at this guy that's crawling away. The worst thing about this set is that the molding is like really limp. You know, the poses. This figure actually looks like he could be decent, but it's just so. Here's my favorite figure. This tells you guys may get a kick out of this. So here is the German infantry set. Where is the German infantry? World War II German infantry. Okay, look, this guy. This guy's got an MP40, right? No problem. This guy's got an MP40. You can't tell what it is, but he does. It's visible from the backside. But the guy that's in the action pose, this guy, has this fucking make-believe, fucking Cobra Commander type make-believe freaking weapon. Hey, look, it's Han Solo. Here's my favorite one. Well, seriously, my favorite one growing up was this guy right here. Everybody likes flamethrowers. We made up like our own rules, and flamethrowers were the king of the battlefield. But here's my favorite guy I had no use for. This guy right here. You know what we used to say this guy was doing? You know, that's what he was doing. You know, and you get a guy with an MG34, what's he doing? He's carrying it over, slinging it over his... it's not a very good set. It's not a very good set. The Africa Corps set is so much better. The Africa Corps set is so much better. Unfortunately, somebody painted them here. But most of these figures are pretty damn decent. The Desert Rat's same way. Desert Rat's a pretty good set. So... love that site. Just like the French on Monty Python. That's right. FAA are owned by Lost Battalion Games now. They use pre-painted figures with their Sergeant's game. That's a game I would have liked to have tried to play if I wasn't stuck at the DBA table with nobody showing up to play it. But I wonder if I would have even liked that game. Probably not. It looks good. The only problem is, man, the board is extremely glossy. Like, really, really glossy. Like, it needs to have some matte coat to it or something. And there was people willing to let us play the demo, but we had to go back to the DBA player. We had to go back to the DBA table, even though nobody was going to show up. Well, I don't have that problem anymore. And there was show up issues at the last convention. We didn't have not a very good DBA turnout. I don't think they had more than. I think they're lucky if they had 6 in any single game. I don't think DBA is dead because of the other systems. You know, I don't know anybody. MEG doesn't get played here, at least in this area. I think there's one player in Florida that wants to play MEG. I've mentioned to him, hey, I wouldn't mind playing it. I just don't want to run the game. Um, there is supposedly there supposedly was a reasonable turnout of people playing Art de la Guerre, which I will never play because it's a ripoff of Phil Barker's work, and it's it doesn't do anything for me. It's but the people that are playing it now, I'll guarantee in 5 years they won't be playing it. They're just nomadic folks. Um, but it's not the same game. I mean, it's only a handful. Some people don't like DBA because it's not enough figures. Okay, well then none of you're basically competing on two different things. It's kind of like, you know, I like to see racing. Well, I don't like motorcycle racing. I like go karts. I said, well, okay, well DBA is go karts, and if you're into something else, then you won't like that. So they don't really necessarily compete with that. I just think a lot of people are just nomadic. They're always looking for the perfect game, thinking the next one's around the horizon, and you know, I don't think that there's necessarily one cause. I think what kills DBA is the way that a person can't pick it up and play it. It scrambles your brain, man. It makes you feel like it gives you some kind of freaking brain cancer. Just reading the freaking rules. It's just, you know, it makes my brain hurt. Yeah, well, the biggest problem that I have in is DBMM has this thing have brilliant and inert leaders. And Phil Barker made a list of these people, okay? And it's some of the guys are out of Phil Barker pulled out of his ass, or only he understands why they're a brilliant leader. Like Prince John, like nobody likes Prince John, but he's a brilliant leader because he did some kind of fancy thing in one battle, so he's on the brilliant leader list. Art de la Guerre has the same type of thing that you can buy these leaders that do that, and it's the same fucking people on his list. Like, really? Like, couldn't you have come up with your own list of people? Like, it's obvious, you know? But hey, if you enjoy playing Art de la Guerre, have at it. I can give you a whole lots of reasons why I wouldn't want to play it. That's just one of them. It's just too many troops. It still doesn't solve that whole stupid conforming thing, which is the worst thing about DBA as far as I'm concerned. And the second thing that's probably the turn off to most people. They don't understand, well, why do I gotta conform exactly the same? Because. And because isn't an excuse. It isn't a reason. So they're gonna move to the And again, I don't have a problem with copying somebody else's work, but give the man frickin' credit and don't charge for the rules. Nope, they do both. They don't mention his name, and they don't give him credit. People play out to the gear locally, not DBX anymore. You play that. You got to play what people locally play, unless you want to do all the effort to do that. The newer Airfix sculpts for 173 are better quality for sure. Early ones are poor. I've never even seen them. Russian and Japanese sets of almost identical poses. Yeah, I showed up to play Armati. When I first played DBA, I wasn't there to play a DBA. I played up to play Armati. And the guy was there. It's like, yeah, nobody showed up to play Armati. Why? Well, there's some miffing between the guy that was the author and the people in the tournament. I'm like, well, I don't know anything about this tournament shit. I've never played a tournament game before and have no interest in the tournament aspect of it. All right, what's this DBA thing now? You know, somebody was playing DBA there, Marty, and and that's what got me into it. But I actually showed up to play Armati that I had played before. But there's a couple things I'd never do again. I'd never run a game at a convention. I don't want to spend the first hour explaining. I'm tired of explaining shit to people. I have to do that every fucking day, and people don't listen to you. So like anything that has to do with that, it's like hey, we'll figure it out as we go along. You're not going to be able to cover everything. You're going to miss something inadvertently, and we'll learn as we go. And I don't want to be like, hey, this is 4-hour session. You wasted the first 2 hours explaining this game to these people that may never play again. Like, while everybody else is waiting, So I don't want to play a game. I don't want to run a game at a convention. So. And have to pick things up and worry about people mishandling figures. And I was expecting at the last convention that asshole to come back around, and that the previous year had picked up a bunch of these figures and just dropped them on the ground. I told the GM, I said, remember that guy? He's like, yeah. I said, if that fucker shows up again, I'm laying into his ass. I ain't afraid to cuss his ass out, mishandling somebody else's figures. Treated him like trash. As I've gotten older, I'm like, you know what? Especially with these people that are just think they can get away with everything. It's like somebody's got to stand up for you once in your life. Up to you once in your life. You need to be put in your place if you're that kind of a fool that wants to, behave like an idiot. I'm not going to look the other way. It may not change you, but it's going to make me feel better. At least somebody gave you a talking to. Yeah, I picked up these figures, 28 millimeter figures. I said, hey, can I move them over there? And the GM says, yeah. And he grabbed them all like this, like pickup sticks, and literally dropped them from like a foot off the freaking table. And then he went to, instead of moving each one, fuck that guy. I saw him at the convention. He was playing a different game. I don't know what his name is, but... One time I played a tournament for 40K back when you played that. Some kid rocks up the table we were playing on and was eyeballing one of my vehicles, but the kid knew not to touch. The dad picks up my vehicle without asking and drops onto the concrete convention floor, and it yard sailed into 100 pieces. Lost my shit on that, Dad. Absolutely. Fucking asshole. Give me his name. What do you need his name for? So we can add him to our prayer group and wish him that he have a terminal illness. You know, it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal because you spend a lot of time creating these things, and by basically canceling that amount of time, you're basically taking life out of somebody's. You're basically taking life away from somebody. You know, like you just cost me 4 or 5 hours of my life. You know. And the least thing you could do is lay into him and call him things he's never been called before. This was like 20 years ago, though. Kid probably fine, upstanding citizen now. I don't know. I don't think there's any fine, upstanding citizens anymore. I'm putting my money on him that he's a dirtbag. Oh, shit. Yeah, I don't like gamers. Gamers are weird, man. Why gamers gotta be so weird? I was talking to my daughter the other day, and she mentioned something like, she goes like, why do boys have to be so weird? I said, what do you mean? I said, the show's just so awkward. You can't talk. And she had an experience with somebody that she rode with, and the guy's so. There's nothing wrong with being freaking nerdy or not being experienced around girls. I mean, I certainly wasn't. But if you're stuck on a car ride with a girl, you freaking carry on a conversation. You can find something to talk about, not just be quiet. That's like more awkward. Go out and freaking meet people. I mean, find people that you got something in common with and talk to them. You don't have to be Captain Socialite, but man, why you gotta be so freaking weird, man? I gotta dress up in a costume to be myself. Come on, man. One kid used to come into our local GW Battle Bunker store. Works for the Prime Minister's office now. I see him on the news and I'm like, wait, isn't that the Ultramarine kid? Big U, right? Ultramarines. That's right, you're up in Canada. Prime Minister. I wonder if those people at that store are still recovered from what I told them. I walked into that awesome store in Calgary, and I go and I say, hey, I'm gonna film a video because your store is so cool, and they're like, yeah, whatever. Some people just seem like they're always on marijuana all the fucking time, which is fine if it made you sharper, but it doesn't. But I think this little guy's about done. I may put some little scratches and stuff on there. Let me get the base color for that and see if I can't fuck up everything that I've done to it. This should be Dunkelgelb Alsf. I believe it's this one. There's one that's lighter than the other one. I don't need to go any lighter. I think this one's light enough. The other one's 12. Yeah, this is the one. And so I filmed a video, and then I ended up picking up these, 4 or 5 packs of American stuff, 5, 6, something like that. And I go to check out, and I go, can I get a bag? And, instead of, normally I would get we only have paper bags. That's fine. I get, plastic bags are shitty, and they make the earth ugly. I don't care whether you want to save the earth or not. They make the earth look ugly while we're here on it. But he's like, no, we're prohibited. The government has prohibited us from ordering bags. And without missing a beat, I was like, this is probably the only time I got upset in Canada at all. They got miffed in Canada at all. I'm like, we have way too much government in America, and you guys definitely have way too much. If they can dictate you whether or not you can even order, if you're worthy of ordering bags. And they just sat there with like mouth agape, like somebody had actually stood up to the imperial Commonwealth government and said something contrary to it. Sentry box. Yeah, that place is incredible. Yeah, he's right. No one can has plastic. Yeah, any kind of bag. It could be a paper bag. I hate plastic bags. You know, I go to the grocery store. I'd rather bring my own little cloth ones because everything stays together. You know. Oh, I got some people awake. I'm gonna be right back because, geez, it's late. Be right back. Uh, it sucks. We're like Europe now. BYOB. Well, you pay less taxes now because of it, right? Oh wait, I I love almost everybody I encountered in Canada. I don't know how the part is where you live, but the part we went visit, I mean, we fell in love with it. I mean, not that I'm gonna live there, you know. I mean, they didn't offer to take me in anyways, so you know. But it's beautiful. I got nothing bad to say about Canada, really. And, I don't judge people by the government. Everybody, people in government in every country do ass clownery, regardless of which country it is. So, you know, I got one guy went snowmobiling, and he's like, "Yeah, I got guns, and I live off the grid, and I don't care what they, you can't find me." I'm like, "Okay, whatever, man. You just behave. You know how to behave, and keep a low profile, and then just keep on keeping on." You know. I don't need people telling me what to do either. I keep a low profile, and I know how to behave. All right, let's get this thing down a little bit. But I do want to get some other Shermans and make them Canadian, just so we can blow things up and then apologize for it. I think it'd be hilarious. Except they're shooting at the SS, then they don't apologize for that. Take that, you Nazi bastard. All right, let's put some of these. Little imperfections across here. This is the most. This is the chipping equivalent that I end up doing. I don't actually like the way chipping looks. I don't do it, but I do what the scratch thing or discolorations or whatever you want to call it is. It just makes it look a little imperfections to stuff. Not a lot, just a few. Just so it doesn't look uniform. I may have to stop here shortly because the whole clan's awake and well, it is 10:15 in the morning, so that's the problem about getting off to a later start is you start running into the time where mortals are awake. And this little guy's pretty much done, ready to seal. Along with the two king tigers, although those antennas that never got painted. So I'm going to go ahead and paint these antennas black. I know some people like to use other colors other than black for the antennas. I like to use black. And we're going to go take care of some other real life stuff. And we'll probably be back at some point today. Maybe when I airbrush the Shermans. I'm not even going to. Yeah, I'm not going to put any stuff on that one. We'll leave that one barren. That way they'll all be different. feel like this antenna is too tall. All right. Kind of measured it. Can always cut it down later if it looks too out of place. I'd use black bristles, black plastic bristles, if they were available thin enough. But I'm not doing 28mm vehicles. Just like I couldn't use black bristles when I was doing for like spears and stuff when I was doing 15s. They're too small. Okay, so that's going to be a wrap. How long will you get on? A couple hours? Yeah, just a little over 2 hours. So, all right, folks, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys on later on this either this afternoon or later on this weekend, certainly. So, and